To continue to deliberate would be futile and only serve to force us to compromise these deeply held beliefs. I'm not going to do that to you folks. Your service is complete. I'm declaring a mistrial in this case. I'll be in to see you privately in a few minutes. So thank you so much for your service.
Now for what's trending in true crime, Karen Reed's attorneys plan to appeal the trial judge's ruling on their motion to dismiss 2 of the charges against her. Now the judge denied the motion Friday after granting that mistrial in July. Reed's attorneys were trying to argue that retrying Reed on the charges of second-degree murder and leaving the scene of an accident would be double jeopardy. They argued that 4 jurors told them that they had agreed to not guilty verdicts on those particular charges, and that would only leave the manslaughter charge with disagreement. Friday, the judge said, no, there is no double jeopardy here because Reed was never acquitted of those charges. The jury did not arrive at not guilty verdicts on those charges. No verdict rendered at all. Now, Reed is accused of striking her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe, with her car, causing him to be injured and leaving him to die in the snow. Her new trial is scheduled to happen in January. So here's what we're asking this morning. We're wondering, will the charges be amended, though, before the new trial? Should they be? Let's bring back in our guest. Still with me in Massachusetts, former homicide prosecutor in Norfolk County, Rick Grundy, law enforcement expert Sonny Slaughter, and retired criminal defense attorney Kirk Nurmi. Great to see you all. All right, so Rick Grundy, you've practiced in this county. We talked a lot throughout the trial. You were a homicide prosecutor for many years. If you were going into this round 2 as the lead prosecutor, would you be amending the charges at all?
So, Julie, first off, if I were the prosecutor, round 1, the second-degree murder charge would never be there. Clearly, I mean, first off, it was a real squeeze. A prosecutor's job is not to charge the highest thing that can get by a grand jury. It's to make the best sense out of the case and seek something that is just as a result. So I don't think the conversation of a second degree should have ever been there. Would I get rid of it? I would absolutely, largely based on what I just said, that it's a misfit in this case. And, you know, I believe that had they not had that second degree there, that Karen Reed would be in jail right now for a motor vehicle homicide while under the influence of alcohol. Mm-hmm. As far as going forward, I think this district attorney's office in particular will leave the charges in place at a minimum up into the doorstep of a new trial, because they'd still like to see, in my opinion, a plea come out of this. And that's the hammer that they would use with respect to a plea. I think to the extent that we've heard with some credibility that the jury was unanimous in that they failed in the second degree should kind of make them rethink that. But I think there'll be some gamesmanship here. Certainly the decision with respect to the jury that the judge just issued last week is going to go to the Supreme Judicial Court in Massachusetts. I think her decision will stand, and I think the SJC will handle it in a manner that will allow for the January trial date. So between then and there, I don't expect to hear anything about reduction of charges from the DA's office.
Rick, thank you for that. I've said it many times on the show. I'll say it again. I think they need to bring in you as a special prosecutor on this one if they want to get this job done right, because they have struggled all throughout this process. I mean, way prior to trial, at trial. I mean, it's just been a mess. And as you were talking, our friend Sonny Slaughter was nodding along in agreement there. Sonny, you were nodding, especially when Rick said the part about if they had not proceeded on murder 2 initially, he thinks there would have been a conviction and Karen Reed would be sitting in jail this morning. Would you speak to any other points you have on that, please, Sonny?
I absolutely agree. Good morning, everyone. I think the investigative competency of this particular case from beginning throughout and in the end, and what we have unfolding on the federal view of this particular investigative process has really tainted this case. I think it was a high bar to set. I do think we need to move forward with a trial, but I don't think that we need to move forward with the charges they initially had in place. You know, trying to get justice means actually trying to get justice for what you know that you can get justice for. And this case was tainted, very tainted, by the investigative processes of law enforcement, by their behaviors and all of their actions. And I don't think that the top count was necessary, but I do think the vehicular homicide still is in play, and we're just going to have to let this go forward. We will be revisiting Karen Reed and her attorneys in 2025. I look forward to it, but I just don't think this prosecutor wants to, I think the prosecutor wants to save face. And right now we're talking about justice and not saving face and getting things done for the family and for the people who have been negatively impacted by all of this foolishness that has gone on.
Yes, yes. Preach, Sonny. Preach. I couldn't agree more. Kirk Nurmi, last but certainly not least, I want to get your thoughts on this. Amending the charges. What do you think we'll see? What should we see in your view, please?
Well, I don't anticipate an amending of the charges, and I'm glad to hear Rick say he would have dropped it, but I think that we have egos involved and are so entrenched in this case. And I think one of the things that prosecutors will do in a nefarious way is exactly the opposite of what Rick was putting forward, the idea that they will charge something as high as they can get past the grand jury under the guise that this will reach a compromise verdict. So this manslaughter, we heard that there was maybe a 9-3 split in favor of manslaughter, might really be a matter of a compromise because we do have a police officer who was found dead. But so I think that what we will see from the Commonwealth is a continued pursuit of these charges. I hope that the defense will change strategy. I don't think their emphasis on a conspiracy theory was ever well taken. I think confirmation bias should be the words of the day, as Sonny called this an investigation. It's kind of hard to call it that. It seems like they zeroed in on one person. I would zero in on that, as well as the conclusions of the biomechanical engineers that the FBI hired. They have that now. They can simply say this was not even a car accident, ladies and gentlemen, and focus their efforts there. So I think we could see a much different trial if that's the case. But the charges will likely be the same, in my opinion.
Kirk, thank you. And I'm so glad you brought that up. Let's talk some more about what we may see in terms of the witnesses, some the same, some different. We're all thinking about Michael Proctor, right? The disgraced state trooper who's out of a job now because of his inexcusable behavior that came out through the Reed case and through investigators subpoenaing his phone and going through his personal messages. Take a look.
So these came from me. From all accounts, he didn't do anything wrong. She's a whack job.
Objection.
So don't spell it. You have to, so these are your words, Trooper Proctor?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead and say them.
Yes, she's a babe. Weird Fall River accent, though. No ass.
All right, so next time around, will testimony be different? Or will it be similar to what we saw before? Let's bring back in our power panel. Kirk Nurmi, let me start with you this time, please. In terms of Proctor, do you think we'll see that guy back again?
I mean, I think they almost have to put him on the stand. They knew these things before, and they still put him on the stand, and they know these things now. Maybe the Commonwealth will do a better job at drawing out the sting of this thing and kind of bringing it up during direct, and not just giving the defense full gear to attack him. But at the same time, these things exist, right? They're not going to change. They're not subject to debate. And there's going to be in the court record. It's on his phone, and all the things that have happened since then only make matters worse for the Commonwealth. So they may be able to draw the sting out of it, but ultimately, Julie, this testimony is what it is, and in that regard, they still have to call him. So, yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see something very similar.
Right. You know, in the ordering of witnesses, I mean, let's hope that's different. Sonny Slaughter, you do litigation consulting. Do you think that they should do this a little differently in terms of focusing more on the act and less on all the people in the party and all the setup?
I do, Julie. I think they need to restructure their case differently when they think about witnesses and testimony and how they get to what is necessary for a conviction if there is a conviction to be had in this particular case. I think a lot of focus and attention was on Proctor and his abhorrent behavior, but that was not all that was necessary to pull this case together. So will he testify? Yes. Will others testify? Rearranging the order of those that do testify is going to matter for the prosecution, and it's going to matter for how the defense plays out their case as well.
Absolutely. And it is what we call Members Only Monday. We want to show you what our armchair attorneys are saying about Judge Cannoni's decision. This is on our exclusive YouTube page. Kim Carlisle saying, quote, "I really think Karen Read was overcharged to start. Given that the judge did not poll the jury, I think she should have dropped the charges. Such a disaster of a trial." Behind the Mask says, "Disappointing. I hope we can get Alan Jackson back. I can't see anyone doing a better job." And Ann Moore says, please, she's heading for prison. You can join the conversation and you can get some perks, including exclusive live meet and greets with Court TV anchors and correspondents. There it is. There is our YouTube channel. You can join it right there. See it. It's easy to do. And we look forward to your comments on every Members Monday.